Costa Rica. I hope you're doing well. My name is Matt Rosensteel. I'm co-owner of Coldwell Banker Pacific Realty. Today, the topic of my live Sunday chat with Costa Rica Matt are prices for real estate here, specifically in Guanacaste, the northwestern province of Costa Rica, where our brokerage is based in Playa Junquillal, the same community from which I'm broadcasting today. You have probably heard that real estate prices in our area are high if you're considering moving to Costa Rica. Today, we're going to first start out by going over why they are high, and I'm willing to admit that they are. Second, we're going to use real comp data to explain about how high they are or some of the closing prices you're seeing relative to last year. And finally, I'm going to give ideas as to how you can approach a search for Costa Rica real estate to put yourself in a position to still find affordable options despite the fact that real estate prices are high in our area. Thank you very much for joining me. If you like straightforward information about moving to Costa Rica and the real estate market here, do be sure to subscribe to my channel. We'll be right back. Thanks for joining and stay tuned. Well, the intro video came and went. There was a glitch on my end. I don't know if other people saw that issue. But anyhow, let's get right on to our topic for the day and talk about why prices are currently high for real estate in Guanacaste. So let's look back at the history of development in this area to give context as to why we currently have such a hard time finding low-priced real estate in Guanacaste. The Liberia International Airport in Liberia was reopened as an international airport in 1995. There started to be a trickle of international flights landing right in the heart of Guanacaste with direct access to tons of beach communities. Now, this area was also simultaneously going through a massive change where small and medium-sized agriculture was on its way out. That was due both to a drought in the 80s, but also changing government policies that really didn't support small farmers anymore. And so all of a sudden, with new internationals arriving in this paradise in Guanacaste, you had the beginning of a development boom. From 2000 until 2008, you saw the beach communities in Playas del Coco, Playa Tamarindo, and everywhere in between along the Guanacaste coastline start to explode. And in those years, there's an absolute race to create real estate inventory for the foreigners coming down here. You saw huge numbers of condos, homes being built, and especially developments being started where developers were purchasing farms, cutting them up and offering lots for sale to this exploding demand. In 2009, when the US went through its huge financial crisis related to the mortgage market, there was an absolute crash down here as well. And you saw all of that frenzy, the bubble that we had going on leading up to 2009, completely pop. And all of a sudden, all kinds of foreigners were pulling their capital out of Guanacaste. Essentially, from 2010 until recent years, you saw that the impact of the financial crisis was to stop development, and especially it really paused the creation of new real estate inventory. So from 2000 to 11 until really 2018 or 19, you had lots and lots of projects in Guanacaste that were completely stopped. A lot of communities that had their guardhouse built and maybe a road up into the mountains were paralyzed by the financial crash and the resulting lack of demand that came out of the market. So, for a number of years, we had almost no inventory being created. And in 2019, 2020, and 21, when we started to see an uptick in demand finally, to some degree, this was still absorbing some of the supply that had been not necessarily created before the financial crisis, but a lot of the demand being soaked up by the existing inventory and sellers that somewhere after the crisis had decided to sell their Costa Rica property. And so you still had a lot of real estate available in 2017, 18, and 19 because those years right after the financial crash were so quiet. Now, what's happened is that all of a sudden we've had an enormous new surge in demand here in Guanacaste. And because of all of those years without new inventory being created, quickly we found ourselves in a position where there is less existing real estate, especially turnkey homes, condos, and those options that make it easy for people to move down here, than there are buyers. Really, there is a shortage of inventory that you've heard about in the US and Canadian real estate market. Here in Guanacaste, that shortage is exacerbated by two different points in our market. First of all, we have 100% a cash market for foreigners, so you don't have debt financing the creation of new homes or construction. And second of all, this area, because it's a small rural region to begin with, doesn't have a huge number of construction companies that also have capacity to quickly ratchet up and meet new demand. So quickly, for example, in our rural community of Playa Junquillal, we've gone from a market where 4 years ago, I had a slew of listings that had been for sale since the financial crisis, or rather, sellers that had accumulated since 2010. And now in the community, you've got builders who are booked an entire year in advance, and really not many options for quality contractors who are ready to immediately start a build tomorrow. There's this backlog now of demand coming in. And so that's one of the absolute top reasons that you see prices in Guanacaste are currently high. It's because this moment in history is one where the supply is simply not keeping up with demand. A second really important aspect of this supply versus demand situation is the fact that in Guanacaste, the saying location, location, location is even more extremely important because there aren't that many communities where expats really feel they're inspired to move and live. You look at a huge swath of Guanacaste's coastline, and if we were to map out the areas that have the amenities where expats feel comfortable, it's not a huge range of the coastline, and there are large swaths of area where you don't have any kind of community that would satisfy a foreigner looking to move here, or at least a lot of the typical buyers. Maybe there isn't a private school, maybe there's no supermarket, maybe there's not high-speed internet. And because there are only a few communities where you have those amenities, all of this demand that we've had in our surge ever since the borders reopened after COVID, or rather in late 2020, when our borders reopened, ever since then, we've seen a surge. And a lot of it has been funneled into what are really sort of choke points, these few communities that are in extremely high demand from foreigners. And as a result, that supply versus demand imbalance is even more acute because you've got so many people trying to get specifically into places like Playa Tamarindo, near Playa Flamingo and the new marina, or virtually anywhere in Costa Rica that has that paved highway, fiber optic internet, and the other amenities that expats want to see. So we've got excess demand trying to go into very few locations. And of course, prices are going to respond, and you've seen them tack dramatically higher, especially in those locations that are in high demand. So let's go for a minute. One of the big myths about Costa Rica real estate is that there's no way to collect comp data to really look at where prices are and where they should be. And I say that's a myth because Costa Rica's national registry is an open book. And if you have someone willing to slowly, tediously collect data from the national registry, you can put together lists of properties that have recently closed and get your data points to analyze where prices should be. If you're looking for a realtor to guide you through the process of buying property, be sure to email me at matt@cbpacificrealty.com. One of the favorite things that me and my team like to do is provide this kind of data to people so that they can make a more intelligent decision about the price of what they're looking at and whether or not it's a true fair market value. I want to look at a couple quick examples of the kind of information we have access to look at just how much higher prices are now than they were even a year ago. And to start out, here we have a spreadsheet of data that's been pulled from the National Registry by Danielle. Thank you very much, Danielle. And this is nothing. This is for a project with 10 villas in Langosta, a very high demand location. There are 10 of these 3-story villas in the Courtyard Villas project. And here you can see there were 2 condos that closed in 2021 with an average price of $501,000. In 2022, the most recent closing was at $677,000, or a 26% increase over last year. Now, this is an example where you're seeing that bottleneck effect to an extreme degree. Condos within a walking distance of one of Costa Rica's most popular beaches, Playa Langosta, and a small project where there aren't necessarily huge numbers of condos to provide people with options. So actually, that's an extreme example, but a 26% increase for an existing condo is actually not out of the realm of craziness here. And in fact, you've seen a ton of examples like that throughout the market. On another one, we're going to pull up a project with a lot more condos in it. The Oaks. Here is a spreadsheet with the titles, sale prices, and closing dates for the 96 condos that are in the Oaks. And once again, thank you to Danielle for tediously putting together this data. And one of the things that you see here at the Oaks project, where there are lots of recent real estate transactions, relatively speaking, you had at least 5 condos close in 21. and they closed at a range of between $145,000 and $157,000. Now, these are simple two-bedroom condos that measure about 1,000 square feet. They're not located directly in Tamarindo, but they are located in an area with great access to the schools and all of the expat amenities. And you've seen that in 2022, whereas prices were between 145 and 157 in 2021, this year you've had at least 4 closings with prices between 170,000 and 245,000. So that's a significant difference. And in fact, you've seen that the current Oaks condos are listed at 180,000, and I believe there's a listing up above 200. Now, obviously, some of those units vary in their quality, the location in the complex, etc. But you've had prices almost 70% higher than the previous year, because once again, the Oaks is a location that's in very high demand. It's something that there aren't many available of in our market. Between 2011 and 2017, you didn't see massive condo projects like the Oaks with 96 units started anywhere in Guanacaste. So again, you had this dynamic where everything that was created leading up to 2009 has now become a very scarce resource, and people are paying up to $100,000 more for a similar condo that in 2021 would have cost them only 145 to 155. There's another dynamic going on here that is simple to explain, where you see prices going up simply because the cheapest options in our very limited market are the first ones that people purchase. And here I'll talk about my community of Playa Junquillal. We don't have more demand than there is available real estate per se, but what we do have are a lot of people who look for the most affordable option that's on the market at any given time. And over the past 2 years, we've seen those affordable options get bought up, and as a result, what's available is a much higher price point than 2 years ago. In many cases, what you're seeing are those people who were very motivated to sell, or those people who purchased a long time ago when prices were low in Guanacaste. They've already sold, or they were motivated enough to do a fire sale somewhere in these intervening quiet years. And now you finally have the people who've been patient for the market to recover listing their property again. Those people who might have bought in right around 2006, 7, or 8, where they had paid peak pricing before the crash, and only now are they seeing the opportunity to get that peak price out of their investment. For example, Tierra Pacifica, a gated community next door where I actually started my career in sales of real estate here in Guanacaste. 3 years ago, there were still lots on the market between 60 and 80,000. Over the last 2 years, those have all closed, and very much sequentially from, almost in a direct line of dominoes, cheapest to most expensive. And now you have lots available from 120,000 and up. And it's a lot of the people who have been waiting for the market to recover to a point where they feel they can get their investment out. We also had a series of purchases where there were small lots for as little as really inexpensive prices, $10 per square meter for an acre right by the beach. We also had $20 per square meter for some smaller lots by the beach. Those have all been purchased. And whereas 3 years ago, there were options on the market at a half acre for $50,000 within a block of the beach, now the minimum price you can find for a lot that's a half acre in our community, um, and actually free and clear and titled with all of its water and same location, you're looking at a significantly higher price point. I know of one that's not segregated that is up around $75,000 that would have to, someone would have to wait for the title to be clear. But the next option after that half acre is sold is a $200,000 asking price with a very short walk to the beach. There's another one at $90,000, all way above that number where you had the remaining deals, $50,000 and $60,000 3 years ago. So even in our community, we've seen the same sorts of jumps where the lot you could have found 3 or 4 years ago is now going to cost you, unfortunately, anywhere between 50 and 100% more, because all of those inexpensive options have simply been purchased and taken by someone else who got down here before you did. So how do you find deals? How can you still find affordable real estate in Costa Rica? Really, there's only two things that I can suggest as your methods. Both of them involve patience. First and foremost, you need to be flexible on your location. Most people dream of living within a walking distance to the beach in a community where they can also go to that charming cafe every day for their cappuccino, where they have expat groups and all kinds of activities. Well, really, in Costa Rica right now, that piece of real estate in a walkable community very close to the beach may now be unaffordable because, as I mentioned, there simply aren't many communities where you've got that walkable feel with all the amenities an expat wants and real estate still for sale close to the beach. And in addition to being flexible with your location, you also, I would highly suggest moving to Costa Rica first and conducting your patient search for real estate while you live in the community that you want to relocate to. If you look online, you're going to hear that, first of all, realtors typically only list the overpriced gringo price stuff. That's very true. The formal exclusive listings that realtors put on their websites is in fact a small fraction of the real estate available. So if you move first to a community and really get a home base going, you're going to be able to patiently watch the market. And you're also going to have an opportunity to really explore what's available that might not be on a realtor's website. Now, does that mean you should ditch the idea of working with an agent? Absolutely not. A second big benefit of living in the community where you're going to buy real estate is, first of all, you can pick a real professional to help you with your search. And even though you're living in town, you need the guidance of someone who has very deep experience in the community so that A, they can give you an overview of the property you're looking at, the pros, cons, potential liabilities, all kinds of information about the property, even whether it floods, whether it's got jerk neighbors, on and on. And B, this realtor, with their depth of experience, once you've found a true professional, they should be able to give you relative comp prices that give you a good idea as to where the price of your favorite piece of real estate actually fits into the broader trend. I can't emphasize enough how much I would encourage prospective Costa Rica buyers to grill your realtor about how they justify the price that they're asking for a property. Currently, they should be able to give you not only national registry data, but comps from their own sales in that particular area. You should never pick a real estate professional who works in a different part of the country, but instead somebody who has a lot of local experience. And they really should be able to list for you solid data points showing where this price fits in the broader context. Now, yes, it may be a good deal higher than recent comps. And as time goes on, I can't say that prices are going to necessarily come back down. Really, if you're flexible on your location and if you're willing to patiently look, I've got people outside the office right now. If you're willing to patiently look at a real estate market and examine all the options, when you start to see things you like, you should definitely pursue an analysis of the price and where it fits into the broader scheme of things. Again, my name is Matt Rosensteel. If you'd like more information, if you want me to help you look for real data to evaluate prices here in the Guanacaste, Costa Rica real estate market, do be sure to email me at matt@cbpacificrealty.com. I'll be back every Sunday with our live chats on topics ranging from animals in Costa Rica to taxes to real estate. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate Steve, Richard, V, and James joining me as well. Some people who are patiently pursuing their search for Costa Rica real estate. Hope you all have a great Sunday. Pura vida.